Hi, fifth grade, Mrs. Tamita here. This week in art, we are going to continue moving along in art history past ancient Mesopotamia and into ancient Egypt. So we are going to be looking at ancient Egyptian art and specifically looking at their scarab beetle artwork. But first, let's talk a little bit about ancient Egypt itself. So since Egypt is still a country today, it's important to note that there's still Egyptian history, which is more recent, and then there is a separate ancient Egyptian history because Egypt has been around for so long. So ancient Egyptian history would have began in about 3100 BCE and went all the way to 332 BCE. With BCE time periods, it works backwards from our time. So instead of adding a year as time passes on, they subtracted a year. So ancient Egypt would have began around 2,100 years after ancient Mesopotamia began. So we are farther along in history, but still so far back from where we are today. And ancient Egypt would have been in the same geographical location that modern day Egypt is. The borders are not quite the same though. Ancient Egypt would have been centered around the Nile River, just like modern day Egypt is as well. So let's look at some ancient Egyptian artwork. These are just 3 examples of some different ancient Egyptian pieces. There is a kind of a pendant or necklace type of artwork here. This is called the Last Judgment of Hunefer. This would have been more like on paper or papyrus. And then this is a scarab of Tutankhamun, which would have been a medallion. But we will talk a little bit more about the scarab in a little bit. So these artworks are from a time span of 600 years. So that is still a pretty long time, but you can still see a very distinct ancient Egyptian style within all of them. They focus a lot on balance and symmetry in their artwork. And these two, of course, show symmetry. And this work up here, The Last Judgment, does not show exact symmetry, but there is a certain sense of balance or harmony in the artwork that is common in ancient Egyptian work. So let's look a little more about the ancient Egyptian scarab beetles. The scarab beetle was a very common symbol in ancient Egyptian art, and it was based on the god Khepri, who pushed the sun across the sky to create day and night. So that's why a lot of the times you will see that the scarab has a circle which represents the sun in its hands, and it also has these really elaborate wings a lot of the time. The scarab beetle in ancient Egyptian art also represented immortality, resurrection, transformation, and protection. So there's a lot of meaning behind these. And of course, they showed symmetry and they were stylized. So what stylized means is that it's not exactly realistic. This is a photo of a scarab, like a real life scarab beetle. Sometimes they're just more of a plain black. Sometimes they're an iridescent, like greenish blue, which is really cool. But as you can see, it's not an exact copy. So they put their own artistic style or stylize the scarab to create their own work. And here's just a few more examples of modern day scarab work. These are not necessarily historical. These are people who would have taken that Egyptian style to make their own work now. So what we are going to do today is we are going to draw our own stylized scarab. We will watch an Art Hub for Kids video for the directions, but we're not going to color it in yet. We're going to color it next week, and then you'll turn in a picture of your drawing. So here is my example of my drawing after watching the Art for Kids Hub video. As you can see, I haven't added color yet. We're just making the drawing this week and stopping there and then turning it in. I still want to see your drawing before you add the color, so make sure to turn it in. And as usual with these videos, just follow along as best you can. Remember, you can pause it if you need extra time on certain things. Make sure you use pencil so you can erase if you're not happy with it. And make sure you just follow the instructions and watch really closely to everything that they do. Have fun, everybody.